Well, hello out there, and welcome to today's show, TalkBack Live, hosted by yours truly, Gloria Shea. I hope you are tuning in, and I hope you've been tuning in over the last few weeks here to TalkBack Live. We've got a special guest today, Justin Glanville, right here in the city of Cleveland. We are broadcasting live from the city of Cleveland. Today is September 11th. It's a special day here all over the country. Be sure and go to our YouTube page and like and subscribe to Talkback Live. Okay, well, thank you for tuning in today. We've got an exciting show for you. Justin Glanville, he is the reporter for local TV here, WCPN, located in the city of Cleveland, and he has a show called ideastream, a local show here that's been doing very, very well. Again, I will say that the all over the country today, of course, we're in commemoration of 9/11, and we're celebrating. Well, it's not a celebration, but it's 20 years now since the attack on the United States. It happened September 11th. So we certainly want to offer our condolences and our heartfelt remembrance to all of the family members who were affected by 9/11. We all were affected. But I know where I was on September 11th, 20 years ago. I can clearly remember where I was. Justin, welcome to Talkback. Are you there?
I am. Hey, Gloria. It's great to be here.
Hey, good morning to you and welcome to Talkback. September 11th, 20 years later, where were you? Do you remember where you were on that fateful day 20 years ago?
Of course. Yeah. I was living in New York City, Gloria, at that time. I was a reporter for the Associated Press, which is a wire service that provides stories for newspapers all over the country. And I remember walking to work that morning, and everyone always talks about what a beautiful day it was in New York, and it was just spectacular blue skies. And, you felt like you didn't have a care in the world. And I got on the subway to go to work at Rockefeller Center. And when I came up out of the subway, the world had ended. The planes had impacted, and I got up to my office, and of course, the newsroom was just going bonkers. And it was a long day of kind of covering the attacks. And then I remember going home that night. I lived in Brooklyn. And I remember going home that night, and there was a park not far from my apartment, right on the East River. And I just walked there and stood there with a bunch of other Brooklynites just staring across the river at the two plumes of smoke, coming up from the World Trade Center. And it was at that point, I was thinking about it. I think the emotion was mostly just complete disbelief and grief. I think that's what kind of people were feeling. And then kind of the anger and all the other stuff came a little bit later. But I just remember that night being very somber and just like stunned, of course. So yeah, that's my memory. How about you? Were you here in Cleveland?
I actually was not here in Cleveland. I was living in Virginia at the time. And I remember after leaving out of the house, it was just maybe around 11 o'clock or so. And because it happened around 9 a.m., I remember after hearing about it, it had happened just a few hours early. But I was heading to Norfolk, Virginia, to a project that we were working on. I had a construction firm at the time, and we were working on a project there in Norfolk. So I was headed that way, and I had the radio on. And that's how I heard about that the towers had been hit. And so, yeah, it was a very emotional day for all of us here in the United States. And 20 years later, it still hurts. It's something that will never, ever go away. But you've been on, I've known you for a while now. You've been on Talkback before. You were on our show about a year or so ago. And so I know what you do, and I know how important your work is. Glad to have you here in Cleveland. Are you originally from Brooklyn? Is that originally home for you?
No, I'm from Cleveland, the suburbs. I grew up in Brecksville. I now live on the near west side of Cleveland, near Edgewater Park, if folks know where that is. I was just at the beach this morning. Pretty beautiful day out there.
Right,
No,
right.
I grew up here. I think a lot of people, probably across the country, wherever you grow up, you kind of, a lot of us feel that itch to kind of spread our wings and try different places. So I decided, so that's what drew me to New York. Right after college, I moved there, and it was a great place to be in your 20s, to be in my 20s,
Right.
and kind of exploring, you know, mega city life, and
Right.
dipping my toes in the water in terms of being a reporter. But thanks for, I remember when I first met you is a different world. It was pre-pandemic, and it was at Cleveland Public Theater.
Yeah.
And you were doing a reading of your play, Sugar.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember. I think
Sugar
maybe
the
I
stage play.
was I doing a reading that night too, or was I
Yeah,
just there in the
you
audience?
were working
Okay.
on a project as well that I think
Okay.
you've already finished, and it's already gone and
Yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
produced and aired, I think, on public radio.
Yeah, could
Uh,
be. Could be.
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. That's where we met, and then you came on to TalkBack. But you've had, I mean, you've had a pretty solid and a pretty vast career in reporting and public TV, and it's one of my favorite subjects to talk about, public television. I've loved it. Public radio for years. I've loved it. I am a member. So if you're
Thank
not a
you.
member of
Thank you.
public
Thank you.
radio or public TV, join. And I've always had a fondness for it. So you've been doing public TV for how long?
So I started full time at ideastream Public Media a little over 2 years ago. Before that, I did do some work for them on a freelance basis. ideastream Public Media is kind of interesting because we're both the TV station. You mentioned WVIZ is the TV station, but we're also the public radio station, 90.3 WCPN. And then we also have a classical music station called WCLV.
Right.
That's at 104.9. So we kind of got a lot going on under one roof. And there's a few other stations around the country that are like that have TV and radio under one roof. But yeah, it's kind of cool because you can experiment and work in different storytelling media, right? You can do visual stuff, you can do radio. I agree. I love PBS. I'm always tuning into the shows there. But in terms of making stories, Gloria, I really love, and I think you're maybe the same way a little bit, I love audio stories and radio stories the best, because I just love capturing sound, and I love capturing human voices talking. There's just something about hearing someone's voice in your ear or coming over your car radio. I think that's so intimate. And I just love that about radio. So I mostly work in radio, but yeah, we got TV under our roof too.
Right. Yeah. I share the story with my podcast for our listeners out there that do only the audio and maybe haven't jumped aboard to the live part yet. But I share a story, my childhood when I grew up, how I loved radio, just radio theater, loved it, was so intrigued by it, so taken in by it, that I would listen, and to me it was better than watching it on TV because of the sound, and the actors at that time were just so very good at what they did, till it was my best entertainment moment as a kid growing up in Cleveland. And I share that on my my podcast. But yeah, so you're doing the public radio, and you got your T-shirt on, you're working out there.
Right. For
Thumbs
those who
up to
can't
you.
see, I got my public radio nerd shirt on. Yep.
And you work out, you're getting it in. That's
Getting my
kudos
steps
on that.
in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome. So we share that, no doubt, Justin, the love for radio and public radio, no doubt about that. So tell me, when you got into the industry, or when you knew that you wanted to get into it, are you where you want to be now? Or are you looking for other avenues to explore in radio and TV?
I would say in most ways, yes, but I will say, and this is not talking out of turn because I've been very vocal about it at the station. I'd love to move in more of a direction of community storytelling and community radio, which by that I mean, I'd love to work more and more directly with community members to empower them to tell their own stories. So I still love reporting and storytelling myself, but I'm also just becoming increasingly interested in how do I put a microphone, and not even a microphone, right? Everybody's got tools in their pocket already to make radio. You know, everyone's got a smartphone, and you
The
can
phones,
record
yeah.
pretty good audio
Yeah.
in there. So
The
how
phones.
do we empower people to, you know, create their own stories? So that's I'm kind of trying to push in that direction with my work. I think you mentioned a story I just did with one of your recent guests, Cardell Belfour. He's a poet. With him, and so just for folks who don't know, he's a formerly incarcerated poet. And I did a whole series because he was part of a group of poets that met in prison, and they've kept writing poetry since then. So I did a series where I just recorded them telling their stories, and also just like recorded them working their present jobs and kind of reflecting on everything and reading their poetry. So that's the kind of stuff I'm really excited about most recently, Gloria, is just you know, really getting people's voices on the air that we might not otherwise hear, and handing over the reins a little bit more in terms of who's controlling that storytelling and who gets to lead it.
I like that. I like that, Justin. That's another thing that drew me to you. I like that. I think community is very, very important to you, and being more involved in the community. Speaking of, and I was going to get a little bit more into that the latter half of the show, but the poetic reentry program, so to speak, that you and these guys have been working on. Let me ask you first, has that been released?
Yeah, it has. And folks can go to, it's ideastream.org/poetic reentry. And we've got, I think, 5 stories up there. Each week we did a different guy. So far, we've only done men, but I'd love to work with some women too. So yeah, and one of my colleagues did a really great job putting up some cool videos and photos and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely that's up there, and would love to hear feedback from folks on what they think. I hope it's inspiring too.
And they simply just go to the public television website, or just go to WCPN or ideastream, pretty much just pull that up, and then they can actually catch it.
Yeah, the best way to go is just ideastream.org, and that way you can get all of our stuff. You can get the TV stuff, you can get the radio stuff. Yeah, it's pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah. IdeaStream has been around how long now?
Oh my gosh, Gloria. Okay. A long time.
Okay.
I want to say that so IdeaStream as a, you know, an entity that includes both the TV station and
the radio.
That merger happened in 2006 is when that happened.
Okay.
But WVIZ and WCPN had both been around for a long time before that. I want to say WCPN, the radio station, maybe got started in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I'm not as familiar with the history of WVIZ, but you know, I think the 60s was kind of the big boom of public media in this country, and there was a lot of funding back then, more than there is now. So that's when both stations got started. And then our current entity, and we're at Playhouse Square. We have our facility there. Yeah, like I said, was 06.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show.
Cool.
We're coming up into the break, and we're going to encourage people to, of course, support public TV and public radio. You're listening to TalkBack Live, hosted by Gloria Shea, and we're going to catch you on the other side. Stay tuned.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Okay, welcome back to Talk Back Live. And my special guest today is none other than Justin Glanville, a local Clevelander here, and he is reporter for ideastream, here heard and seen locally on public radio and public television. Justin, I think what you do is important. I really do. We could all watch, TikTok and this new wave or new craze for entertainment and even news, because news is such a part of entertainment now. Sometimes you don't know which is which. I mean, really coming from a background that I have, I kind of watch things more closely on that. But I think what you do with public TV and public radio and ideastream is so important, because number one, you're servicing the community, you're right in the thick of things, you're going out meeting people, everyday people who have everyday real experiences that you share, and you make more and more people aware of what's going on. For example, we had one who was involved in your production in the Poetic Reentry Program. We had Cordell Belfort on a few weeks back. Great show, great gentleman, making his way back into society, giving back to society, even though he had a setback, of course. But a lot of these guys are the same. They come from, just making bad choices, and now they're trying to not only just make good, but just give back to the community. That's in your heart, I can tell that. So tell us just a little bit more about that.
Well, Gloria, first of all, I mean, thank you for those words. It means a lot to me that you value the work I do and you see it. So yeah, thank you. And back at you. I love your show and the way that you get voices on the air too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned social media and TikTok and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I got to get with this stuff more. I got to start doing TikTok videos, or I got to start tweeting. I have been trying to get on board with Twitter, Gloria, for years. And I just, I think I'm coming to a point where I'm like, no, it's okay. Like I can just not do the things that I don't enjoy, and what I love is a slower style of storytelling where you really get to know someone. And I think that's what public media does provide a space for, more than a lot of other outlets. Nothing against other styles of news. People get their stories the way they're going to get their stories, and people respond to different things. But for me, I love to just kind of sit and get to know one person at a time, kind of like what we're doing right now, just one-on-one conversations. I get stressed out when I start hearing multiple people talking at me, talking over each other, kind of fighting to be heard. And I think, where I can be most valuable is just providing those slower conversations where we get to know the nuances, because I think that's what a lot of what we don't get as much of a chance to do these days, right?
Right.
And the pandemic only made it worse, where you don't really get to know too many other people outside your bubble.
Right.
You don't get to have those deep conversations as much. So yeah, I'm glad you respond to it. And I do think it's just, ultimately, you got to do the type of storytelling you love, right? You got to do the type of work you love and respond to, and not try to be trendy.
Yeah. So
and up with the kids on TikTok.
Right. Yeah. And I totally get it. So the storytelling, I guess, is what I was trying to say, is the prime key to why you do and how you do what you do. And I absolutely love it and applaud it. What do you, is there anything that you're working on now that's coming up?
Yeah. So last year, toward the end of the year, I did a narrative podcast called Inside the Bricks. where I was at a neighborhood called Woodhill Homes, or sometimes it's known as Morris Black. It's a public housing estate on the east side of Cleveland, and they're about to redevelop it. So what we wanted to do was go in and talk to people about their lives now. We wanted to kind of, get a better understanding of this neighborhood before it gets bulldozed, and what do people want for the future. So we're going to do a second, I'm working really hard right now on a second season of that, looking at my own neighborhood, which is the Detroit Shoreway neighborhood on the near west side of Cleveland. It's a neighborhood that's been, a lot of people say, gentrifying really quickly. Lots of houses are being flipped. Property values are really going through the roof, which is good in a way. But I just got really curious about, well, what's the effect this is having on people? So I've been having porch interviews with a bunch of my neighbors, talking about their feelings about it. We're going to look at kind of, what does gentrification mean? How does it affect people differently based on their race or their income and so on? So I'm excited about that. That's kind of my next big project. And I'm in this phase right now, Gloria, I don't know if you ever feel this way, like in the midst of a creative project where I'm like, I got a ton of material and I need to start bringing some shape to it. And I'm kind of like in my head silently freaking out about that. You know what I mean? Like, how do I bring some, structure to all this?
Right.
But
sure.
that's kind of my next big project. I'm hoping that comes out the very beginning of next year, 2022.
Awesome. Let me ask you, Justin, who was some of your favorite reporters coming up, or who were some of the folks that you kind of watched a lot? Anyone or listened to?
Wow. Well, I think the show This American Life has been a huge influence on me. Are you familiar with that show?
No.
It's on nationally. I think it's produced out of WBEZ in Chicago.
Okay.
But it's every week they have a theme, like, first dates, or testosterone. I remember was one. And and then they go out and they have stories from different people just about their experience with that subject. So I think that one has been very influential on me. Longer pieces. Let's see. This is a good question that I haven't thought about much. I mean, that's
they are still on.
They're still on.
Okay.
They're still on. I believe it airs Sundays at 2. Of course, I stream everything.
Right.
I like there. It's also a podcast you can download for free. This American Life. I really love Terry Gross. Are you familiar with her?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
I have been listening to her for years and years. And
I have as well.
I sometimes try to figure out what is it about her that is so special, because she's not doing anything earth-shattering in terms of format. It's one-on-one, two-way interviews, just like we're doing right now. And yet there's something about her that is I think it's her level of preparation, and she's got a whole staff too, that helps her research all her guests and stuff.
Right.
But I think she also, I don't know, she brings like a structure to the show where even though it's an interview, but it still feels like a story. Does that?
Right. Oh, of course, makes perfectly good sense to me.
What do you think?
Diane Stream is one of my very favorites. Of course, she's been on for years. I'm not sure if she's still on. I think she is. But
I think she retired actually.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah.
She's one of my. I've listened to her on public radio for years.
Yeah.
Literally years and years and years. But yeah. So very important. Tell the viewers out there how they can support what you do, Justin.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to plug public media, Gloria. So. Yeah, if you feel like supporting public radio, we are member supported. We do get some grants and stuff, but contributions from viewers and listeners are always valued. And you can go to ideastream.org, and there's a donate button at the top of the screen, or
There absolutely is.
/donate.
Yes.
So, yeah.
There absolutely is a
And
donate
you can
button.
donate whatever you want. I will say, I always say this because I think it's something not a lot of people know. If you donate $5 a month or more, so that's $60 a year, you get like a Netflix of PBS. It's called Passport, and it's like a streaming channel on your, TV, where you can watch decades of, public TV content, kids stuff, adult stuff, and that's pretty awesome. So I always, we give away like these prizes, like the t-shirt I'm wearing right now and stuff, but I always feel like that's the perk that's amazing, because I just love to consume all that content. So
before we let you go, Justin, are you working on any other creative outlets like you were doing when I met you at the theater?
I am dabbling in working on a novel, Gloria, actually, which
awesome.
I've tried here and there over the years, and it's tough. Have you ever tried writing a novel?
Well, I've written this play, Justin, called Sugar, the stage play.
Yeah,
that was in itself, and then of course I'm sure I'm going to have to do some editing and some additions to that. I mean, how it goes. It never just flies out and hits, publication or even the stage just as it started. There's always, changes that you have to do. But being creative people, I mean, it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
You do it, you love it, you get entrenched in it, you get lost in it. Yeah. And so
try not to take it too seriously, right? Because sometimes I think because I this is what I do for a living, I tell stories. Sometimes I feel like I struggle to bring a level of like lightness or fun to my side projects. I'm like, I take them almost too seriously. Right. I need to just be like, no, this is just, I'm dabbling in this. This is supposed to be fun. This is not my job. You know what I mean? So I try to remind myself of that and just have fun with the side projects.
Right. Well, you've been a very, very interesting guest. I want to thank you for spending and sharing your Saturday with us. I know you're a new dad. Congratulations. You got a new 15-month-old baby of a son.
Correct. Yeah.
Congratulations to you and the missus on that. And I know you've got something planned today with the family. So we want to thank you for coming on and spending your Saturday morning with us here at TalkBack Live. I always enjoy talking with you. I always enjoy seeing you do what you do. I encourage you to continue to do it. I hope you stay here in Cleveland and continue to work on public radio and public TV here. Justin Glanville has been our special guest today. He is a reporter for ideastream, seen here locally in the city of Cleveland, WCPN, and of course, he is also seen on WVIZ. So
Gloria,
check him out.
I just want to say quick too.
Go ahead.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And
thank you.
I admire what you do too. I always love seeing you come up in my Facebook feed. So yes, right back at you. Keep doing it, and let's keep finding ways to stay in touch and collaborate.
Absolutely. Tell everyone you know, Justin, about TalkBack Live. Let them know that we're here. We're going to be here we alternate Saturdays. We're on live at 11 o'clock a.m. and let them know we're here. We're here to stay.
Sure thing.
All right, Justin, I'm going to let you go. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Justin, you have it there. Justin Glanville, reporter for ideastream, seen here locally in the city of Cleveland, public radio, public television, a guy who really loves the community here, and he loves doing what he does. We've got a special guest coming up on September 24th here on TalkBack Live. We're going to have Bishop Terry Austin along with Kim James. They're going to be seen here from Virginia, and they're going to talk about how to make your air better with COVID and everything that's been going on for the last few years. They're going to share a product that they have to tell you how to breathe better air. And then later, and sometime in October, we're going to also have George Frazier. He is a well-renowned, well-known, world-known CEO, entrepreneur, speaker, and he's going to come on Talkback Live here in October coming up. Today is September 11th. We're commemorating what happened to the United States 20 years ago. It's been 20 years now. And I want to give a shout out to my producer, Keith Hayes, who hails from Massachusetts. And I want to give him a moment before we just totally end the show to talk about where he was on this infamous day, September 11th, 20 years ago. Keith, how are you there? Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Be sure and go to Talkback Live, go to our YouTube page, like, subscribe, tell everyone about Talkback Live. Every other Saturday, we're going to do alternate Saturday. We'll be back September 24th live with another guest, of course, two special guests from the state of Virginia. And they're going to talk about how to help you breathe better air. And that should be very interesting. So tune in for that. Thank you for all of our viewers and our listeners who've been faithful to Talkback. We've been around now to be 3 years. February of 2022, 3 whole years now, 3 full years of Talkback with yours truly. And I want to thank my listeners who have stuck with me for the last 2.5 years. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It's a moment in time that we should never forget and that we should always remember. And for those that were more personally affected, the family members the families that lost their family members is it's still something that hurts, and all on television today, on all the major networks, they're showing, the ceremonies on it. So I just want to, on behalf of Talkback Live, say to all of the viewers out there, if you know someone personally, or if you don't even know someone, let's say a prayer for the families, that they continue to strive and to have strength to go on. There were a lot of fathers lost, a lot of mothers lost, a lot of friends, just very, very tragic. So let's hope that it never happens to our country again. But we shouldn't have to have things like this to bring us together. Let's remember that we all need each other and to reach out to each other. Thank you so much for tuning in to Talkback Live. I enjoyed the show. I hope you did. Keith, my producer, all the way from Massachusetts, kudos to you, my friend. Thank you for always being there for me. And let's do it again in 2 weeks. Let's do it again. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, America. That's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Be sure and go to our Facebook page, Talkback, a thought-provoking talk format. That's Talkback, a thought-provoking talk format. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think of Talkback. It can only make us better. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, also Twitter, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are heard. Be sure, check us out on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening. Until next time, America.
You have been listening to Talkback with my grandma on Spotify. Be sure and catch her every weekend. Oh, and by the way, my name is Kari. Bye.